the most tremendous new musical experience you can have.
Alright, what's up y'all? It's Logan, and I'm here bringing you this review to this newest Kanye West album called Jesus is King. Now, for those of you who don't know who Kanye is, I'm kidding, I'm not about to do that for Kanye West. Everyone knows who Kanye is. Kanye, as of late, has dropped some albums that not everyone has been a fan of, and some albums that people have enjoyed and loved. Like I said, I'm not going to break down who he is, but I will break down my personal opinion of him because, as some of you may know, I am a Ye stan. I think that The College Dropout and Late Registration are both absolute classics, College Dropout being one of the best debut albums of all time. I think Graduation could be argued as a classic, although I don't personally call it that. 808s and Heartbreaks, in my opinion, is a classic, although I see people not calling it that for specific reasons, and I understand why you would say that. The reason I say it is because it changed the game, and I mean, it opened us up to hearing voices such as Drake and people like that with sounds similar to that, so it was just extremely experimental. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is undoubtedly his best album and a classic, it being the second best rap album from the 2010s in my opinion, only behind To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, but all of you already know that. Yeezus is a personal classic to me, although I wouldn't call it a classic by any means. I just really enjoy it again because of the experimental nature. I do like when Kanye gets a little bit more experimental, tries different things, and that's one thing that he is most known for. And I just really enjoyed it. It's very abrasive, very in your face, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like it. I just personally do because I personally enjoy his music in the first place. Next came The Life of Pablo and the 2-year wait that came with that. Regardless of that, I like that album. It's not by any means a classic, but it is enjoyable. It has some of Kanye's better work, such as Ultralight Beam and songs such as that, and then some of his not so great work. So it has positives and negatives. After that, he took a little break, came out with Ye last year, which in my opinion is his worst album, although, I mean, that's not saying much because Kanye's worst album could be a lot of other people's best albums. So, regardless of that, that album was one of the 7-song albums that he was dropping last year, along with the ones that he dropped with Pusha T, Nas, Teyana Taylor, all of that. But that was a good album, nonetheless. It had a lot of mental health talk, and that was good, especially knowing what he was going through. And then he follows that up with his joint project with Kid Cudi called Kids See Ghost, again, part of that 7-track album. And to me, that is a classic. That is one of the few examples of two artists working together on a collab project, actually bringing out the best in each other, as there are not a lot of examples of that. So with that being said, that's my history with Kanye. You know my thoughts on his previous albums. Now let's go ahead and get into it with this one. And with this one, I had no idea what to actually expect. I knew he was talking about making a gospel album, talking more about his faith with in Jesus. And that's something that I enjoy in Kanye's work, is his more faith-based songs such as Jesus Walks or Ultralight Beam, those being some of my favorite tracks by Kanye. But I didn't know what to expect with this one because I was thinking, is he going to be still regular Kanye but focusing on Jesus? Is he going to have cussing in it or not? Not that that's that important, but for the record, no cussing on this album whatsoever. And then I was also concerned, is it going to be a rap album, like a Christian rap album, or a gospel album legit straight through and through, like Kirk Franklin or something like that? It is more of a Christian rap album with a lot of gospel elements, and as you know, I am a big Christian rap fan, having listened my entire life to Lecrae, Andy Mineo, KB, NF, all that, and even having met some of them at concerts. I am a big fan of that, and those two mixing together should make for a great album. And a lot of people have been trashing this. A lot of people have been saying it's mediocre. A lot of people have been saying it's great, and I see it from all perspectives. But for me personally, judging this just based on my own experience with it, I personally thought it was great. Not one of his best works, probably still one of his worst works, but again, a lot of his worst works could still be classics. I'm not saying that this is going to go down as a classic. It's not the best Kanye album, and it's not the best Christian rap album I've ever heard. However, combining those two together does make for a great experience that I thoroughly enjoyed. There are some songs on here that I didn't enjoy as much. Specifically, I want to point out Closed on Sunday. That's the one that everyone's been memeing the heck out of, where he says, "Closed on Sunday, you my Chick-fil-A." that number one with the lemonade, all that. That's just corny, but it still has a good sound to it. And most of these tracks, it's basically a 116 Reach Records, Lecrae and all them album, but with better mixing, with better samples. Now, that being said, the mixing is not perfect. There are still some incomplete mixes on here that I got a feeling they will be coming back to and remastering later. But overall, the mixes are great. The beats are very enjoyable, and that just makes for a very enjoyable 27-minute listen. Some of my favorite tracks I will go ahead and point out. Selah, great track. It has some of the best rapping by Kanye on here, as this is not one of his better lyrical performances on an album, but it has some of his better bars on Selah, which I specifically love the part where you get the drums coming in. It's just adding a lot of impact to the words he's saying. It makes you feel very uplifted. After that comes Follow God, one of my favorite tracks also, where he's talking about, like, one, a lot of people follow him, like Ye stands as if he were a god. He talks about that. He also talks about how he can get in an argument with his father and say that, his dad's not being Christ-like, and then they'll just start spazzing on each other, and then boom, right back at him. His dad shouts out, you ain't being Christ-like, and all that. And he talks about how people will notice when you're not being Christ-like, but they won't notice when you are. So, not extremely deep content. It's not like he's breaking down religious in a way that no one ever has. I mean, he's very surface level, but it's still good stuff. Other than that, you have the song On God, which again is one of his better rapping performances on this project. I really enjoyed that one. Hands On has one of the best beats on this album, and still a good performance by Kanye. And then my personal favorite, and most people's personal favorite from this project, Use This Gospel, which features Clips, that being Pusha T and No Malice. Which this was the perfect time to get them back together, because Pusha T enjoys working with Kanye, first off, and then No Malice actually switched from Malice to No Malice when he left Clips to become a Christian rapper. So this was just the perfect timing to bring them two together, and it does work very well. And then you also have, Kenny G on here. My apologies, I couldn't think of his name to save my life. Kenny G ending at the very end with some jazz playing, and it absolutely hits. It's a little bit of a rough transition into that, but man, whenever you get to that and then it switches back out of that into the beat drop, it is a very uplifting experience. And Clips is coming with some decent bars. I will actually say No Malice probably has the best verse on here compared to Pusha T. Kanye doesn't have a verse, he just does the chorus, but very good song, one of the best songs of the year, very thoroughly enjoyable. Like I said, I do understand some of the complaints about this project. He doesn't really dive into anything too deep, not a very good lyrical performance per se. Some people just might not be on that religious wave with him. I understand all of that, and then just also the fact that the mixing isn't absolutely perfect by any means, and especially not by Kanye standards. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this project. I listened to it a lot, and I plan to continue to return to it. I do think that for a lot of people, it will have that 808s or Yeezus effect, where you hate it at first, and then you revisit it a few years later, and you're like, oh, this actually wasn't that bad. I am a little scared to see what Kanye does later on down the road. He did say that all the rest of his albums are going to be like this, in the sense that they're going to be Christian-based. I don't know. I hope that he can go deeper, because another project like this would be a little bit too repetitive, and it wouldn't have the same impact. I hope that he can dive deeper into that and find a different side to it. I'm all for him continuing with his religion. That's a great thing, and I fully support him in that. I just hope that he can get a little bit more creative down the road, because repeating this over and over won't work. This one time, I enjoyed it very much so. And with that, I can go ahead and give my ranking. This is one that I have a hard time ranking. At first, I was like, oh yeah, 9 out of 10, best rap album, only behind Igor. But I go back and forth. It right now I'll say 8.5 to 9. Could drop to an 8, could stay at a 9. We'll see. But in that range, I thoroughly enjoy it. Still probably a top 10 album at this point. And again, I am a Ye stan. This is just all based on my enjoyment of that and the fact that I like Christian rap, along with the fact that, I just really enjoyed this project a lot, and I plan to go back to it a lot. So, that being said, what are your thoughts on this project? Did you love it? Are you one of the ones who hated it? Where would you rank this in Kanye's discography? And where would you rank this amongst Christian albums? Because there are plenty of other Christian albums that I probably wouldn't give as high of an overall rating to. Like, some of them might be at a 7.5 or 8, but I think are probably better albums. It's just the mixture of that with the enjoyment that makes me rate this one so high. So again, leave your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, share this video, and I appreciate y'all watching, and I will hit y'all up next time.